You are live.
Hey. Good evening. Welcome to the Special Government Operations Committee meeting. It's Monday, June 16th. It is 6:41. Voting members of this committee are Councilor Trumbull, Councilor Mallor, Councilor Dean, Councilor Beck, and myself, Councilor Hawes. We have 6 items on the agenda. The first one being a referral authorizing the city manager to accept and appropriate an additional $27,801 in grant funds from Maine Centers for Disease Control and Prevention to fund Bangor Public Health and Community Services Women, Infants, and Children Program.
Yeah, so this item is has received first reading, so if approved tonight, will be have second reading at the next council meeting. This is our WIC program that has been longstanding in public health, unless there's any questions.
Any questions? Okay.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. There were no questions apparent. So if there are no objections, this will go to the next council meeting for second reading. Okay. The next item is also where we can go.
Yes, this is similar to the WIC program, only this is for the Bangor Rental Assistance Program, previously referred to as Shelter Plus Care. And so these would allow us to accept and appropriate 1.5 million for that purpose.
Questions?
Move approval. Second.
Is there a second? Okay, it's been moved and seconded that this be referred to the next council meeting as well. Is there any objections? Okay. The third is an order adopting updated schedule of fees to reflect updated EMS no transport fees.
Yes, for this one, I'm gonna ask Fire Chief Jeff Lowe to come to the table, as this is something that he's been working on in his time as fire chief.
Good evening.
Good evening, Jeff Lowe, Fire Chief. So when I get here, I did an evaluation of the number of calls that we're making to the various types. What I found was that we are responding a significant number of times to healthcare facilities. That's healthcare facilities, assisted living, those types of businesses, if you will, that are hired on to provide care for seniors or people who have struggles that don't allow them to conduct life in a way that you or I might do that. And we started tracking calls late last year, and what we were able to come up with is that we did 200 and I believe it was 225 calls or something somewhere along those lines. I think it's in the packet that I gave you. I'm sorry, 275 is what we did last year for runs to those types of facilities. This year so far, where we started tracking at the beginning of the year, we're already up to 225 calls. And this really is a fairly taxing load on the system. If you look at 225 calls and you figure a half an hour for each call, that comes out to about 112 hours that we spend providing services to those facilities. Now, we're not saying that the residents don't need assistance. What we're saying is that in those environments where those places are contracted to provide care for loved ones or individuals or whatever the case may be, that should be something that they are capable of doing. And because they have chosen to transfer liability and potential expense of injury to their staff onto us, it is my opinion that that constitutes a call for service from us that should be compensated fairly. And it only wasn't not compensated. It wasn't negotiated. It wasn't discussed. It's a, excuse me, it's a loophole in the meaningless system that requires us to go out and manage these calls. And as it is right now, the potential return isn't what it should be. My proposal is that we apply the base ambulance fee that we do for medical calls when we transport somebody. And that is that was $550 So if you fall down and bump your knee and for whatever reason need to go to the hospital by ambulance, and we don't start an IV or we don't put a heart monitor on you or anything like that, the base fee for that is $550. That's what I'm recommending. We begin billing these facilities to recoup some of this cost of operation. I know that there is a bit of a sour taste to it, if you will. I hate to have to do that to businesses or companies, because we do provide an ambulance service in the community. But this is just, I feel, is taking advantage of the citizens of Bangor and the taxpayers. So that's what I'm coming forward and proposing, and certainly I'll answer any questions I can for you. Yeah.
Councilor Dean?
My question is, so the facility would pay the $550, it wouldn't be on the insurance?
That is who will be billing is the facility. Yep. What they do, I'll be honest with you, what they do after that, I don't know how they might try to recoup that money. But we will definitely be billing the facilities who do look to charge.
Other questions? Councilor Trumbull?
I think there's a very reason why they suspect most of these facilities are probably for-profit institutions, and suppose one of these facility gets, 10 of these bills and they owe us $5,500. What if they don't pay? But we can't lien their property, so is there any teeth to this at all?
So I believe there would be where it'd be an ordinance change. I would come back to say the city manager and council to determine. When I say council, I mean legal counsel to determine where we can go from there.
Fire calls right now, alarm calls, there's a policy on alarm
Yes.
calls, so this is similar to that.
Yes. Yep.
Councilor Fish?
550, is that the average charge that it would be to anyone else outside of these types of facilities?
Yeah.
And secondly, with this fee from charging them nothing to charging them this, do you think there's any risk that they won't call when they should?
So let me back up just 1 second. When we are dealing with citizens, we still keep the graded scale of charges. So if you fall down in your home and we come out there 3 times, you have up to 3 times before we start billing you. The difference is that when we get there and we see that you are starting to have repeated falls, usually that's an indication of something else going on, some type of either failure to thrive or medical condition or something like that. So after about the second time, we start getting other resources involved, whether it's DHHS or public health or whoever it is we need to reach out to. I don't believe that this will deter those private businesses from calling, because it's a liability to them. If they don't assess the patient and get the patient off the floor, which they have the capacity to do, they're medical providers, then that's failure to care for their patients, and it's a potential, it's another risk for them.
Thank you.
I would be very surprised if they stop calling, just for that very reason.
As would I.
This protects, what this is doing now, it's by them taking the call, it protects their workers from back strains, from leg injuries, from whatever they want to call it. When really they should be able to perform the functions that these people are doing when they go there. So I think, I'm surprised we haven't done this before. It's been a long time coming. And I don't think it's a bad thing at all. Other comments? Do you have a motion? In
Will we
order.
approve the fee structure?
Second.
That's what we're doing now. Okay, it's been moved and seconded. If there's no objection, we will approve this fee structure.
Yeah, it would be on the council agenda for the
Next.
23rd.
Next agenda. Okay,
Thank you.
seeing none, it will be on the next meeting. The next order is for adopting a memorial policy for requests for memorials to be placed in city-owned parks and open space.
Yeah, so just a high level overview, as you guys know, we frequently will come before you with requests for like benches and things in open space in our parks. And so the purpose of this policy is to kind of outline the process and procedure, when it will be evaluated, how long will it last, sort of a thing. And other expectations around that. And by approving this policy, instead of us always going through this very formal process for a bench, it would allow the Parks and Rec director to, authorize those directly. And there's also an appeal, process as well included in the policy should, someone disagree with Director Willet's, determination. Is there anything you'd like to add?
Not a thing.
Councilor
I'm
Trump.
just looking at this, but we had talked about this at the one time about. Is there a standard bench, if a lot of people want to do bench, do we have a standard bench now that we're doing if somebody wants to do a bench?
Tracy Willett, Parks and Recreation Director. So it depends on the park. For example, Fairmount Park, and I think that's the example you have there. We try to keep them to the black iron benches. On the waterfront, there's a combination of the black iron benches and there's some granite monuments. So to answer your question, yes, this will help us better standardize what benches and what amenities go in what parks.
Okay, thanks.
Other comments? Councilor Forney?
I'm not a voting member of this committee, just want to be clear. So I know, we approved the Bill Masters,
Mhm.
thing on the third hole. And I was up there walking the other day, and so that's just concrete and then wood.
Mhm.
Wood slats. Is that gonna be what the golf course is gonna continue with?
That's what we're gonna try and continue with, yeah, at the golf course.
I would just think the life expectancy of something like that would be not very long as opposed to what we're seeing.
Yeah, no, we'll see how that goes, for sure. We'll see how that goes. And so that goes back to the standardizing. This will allow us to better standardize that, and if there's a better way to address that going forward. Hence why there's some language in there about maintenance and decommissioning, that sort of thing as well.
Any other questions, comments? There are no objections. It's been moved and seconded. The order will have passage to the next council meeting on the 23rd.
Thank you.
Okay, we have a grant funding opportunity to replace one community connector bus and two ADA paratransit vans.
Yes, as some of you may be aware in the past, Lori Linspa, who's here with us today with Community Connector, has done a great job applying for various grants over the years. And in fact, she's to be thanked for a lot of our newer buses. And so she was made aware of a new opportunity for us to apply for funding that would take 80% of the cost of these vehicles with a 20% local share, but actually Maine DOT will split the local share with us, so it would only be 10% of that. And so given the cost of buses, in particular hybrid buses, and that we will undoubtedly need to replace one as well as the ADA vans, this could be a great opportunity to do so at a reduced cost and keep it in line with our regional climate action plan in terms of trying to move toward the hybrid and electric buses. The vans would be hybrid or electric as well.
Questions? So quiet. No comments?
See no reason why we wouldn't want to do this.
Mhm.
Seems like a great plan. Save quite a bit of money.
No specific questions, but there is consensus at least that this would be something worth pursuing.
Yeah, do you mind if I get a motion? It'll be on the 23rd, if so.
We have a motion.
I'll move recommendation.
Second,
Thanks, been moved and seconded. No further discussion, no objections, so. To the
Thank you.
23rd it goes.
Thank you. Appreciate you coming, Lori. Thank you. All right.
And the last item is the city hall parking proposal.
Yes, you may remember that in pre-council workshop last week, I mentioned that this item was going to the Downtown Parking Advisory Committee. Councilor Leonard can attest that we did have that meeting last Friday in which we discussed this. And so I believe, and Councilor Leonard can elaborate, that they recommended the staff's recommendation, as it relates to, freeing up some parking spaces in the parking lot next to City Hall for visitors to use. And instead moving those into, permitted spaces up toward the top half of Center Street Hill, that's in front of City Hall. And then with regard to the, those 5 spaces that are in front of City Hall on Harlow Street and across the street from EMDC, there was a lot of discussion about that, and ultimately they recommended, to not make them City Hall only parking, but instead to reduce the time from 90 minutes to 60 minutes to help with the turnover. To, again, with the goal of creating a more accessibility in and out of the building for those that are, visiting us for our services. So I think that's it in a nutshell.
In addition, the reason why it's a 60-minute time limit is because it allows parking enforcement to actually enforce those parking time limits as opposed to just having city parking. They can't enforce those spaces, so that's why they came to that decision. Why we came to that decision.
Questions other than Council Trample and then?
Just looking at on Center Street.
Mhm.
So as you go up Center, right now on the right, aren't there some permit parking on the right? We gonna
Yes.
eliminate those or keep
No.
those?
They would be there.
Changes with-
The first few, we have used for, like, to meet accommodation requests for our employees. The issue is that steep embankment on the right during the winter, the snow and ice tends to eliminate those positions, through the winter. And so I think those would still be valuable, but by having the designated spaces on the left-hand side, it ensures that the staff that are being moved from the spaces beside City Hall will have a place, year-round to park that's designated.
Yeah, I know it's not the purview of the parking committee, but it's on the map here, but what happens with the spaces? Not on street spaces, the spaces next to City Hall, what are we doing with those spaces?
Yeah, so, it would free up, 6 additional spaces there, and those would just be general parking. Cause the back wall along the retaining wall, there's about a dozen designated staff-only parking spaces.
Yeah.
It would cut that back to 6, which means that there would be 6 additional spaces up along there for visitors.
Okay, so we just have 6 spaces as designated for staff,
It would actually increase it to, I think, 8,
8 staff spaces.
no, sorry. There would only be 6, designated spaces down at the bottom for, like department heads for both, city and school.
Yeah,
And then it would open up 6 more, for visitors in addition to those few that were already at the top. On the right against the
Right.
retaining wall. Yeah, and the thought is not only will it increase space for citizens coming and going to conduct their business. But also it will allow us to have more flexibility with accommodations. For our staff as well as potentially add an additional accessible spot as well. It can get a little tight at the top, so I think with folks coming and going in a larger portion of that parking lot, that I think folks will be more apt to use it. Because otherwise with people parked along that retaining wall and not moving all day, it was kind of tight getting in and out of there if somebody was coming down, so.
Council Pelletier?
Thank you. So just to confirm, the spaces that are moving down to 60 minutes, that's just 8 to 5 Monday through Friday, like the rest of our, okay,
That's correct.
thank you.
Any other?
Well, just for clarification. How many handicap spaces are we going to have? Are all the ones on the left going to be handicapped?
No, so right now there's 1 accessible spot and a second that is mobility challenged. I think, I would need to, get with other staff if this is successful. But I think at least 2 accessible spots plus mobility challenged, would be preferred.
So basically almost take that whole left-hand side,
Yeah.
which makes sense. Okay.
Other comments? Council James?
I appreciate all the thought that went into this. I know it's difficult when you're dealing with parking in the downtown area, but I think that you've done a great job with the new design.
Thank you. Yeah, if approved tonight, then it will also be on the council agenda for the 23rd, which is in plenty of time for our move back, so,
Oh, do you want a motion?
yes, please.
Motion?
I will make a motion to go with staff recommendation for the new parking at City Hall and on street.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Sorry, if there's no objections, this will also be on the council meeting of the 23rd. Yes, it's going to the council meeting. Is there anything else? Okay, seeing none, we will adjourn this meeting. It is 7:02. Stay tuned for business and economic development.